We're live. So today we're doing a typing of Steve Aoki using the objective personality method. This is my first. We're going to attempt to work the coins and get this done. I have not looked at the Facebook group or anything else to see what anybody else has done. The class is tonight, and I'm going to try and do this on my own. So I watched most of this interview already once, and I'm pretty sure that I've got this. So we're going to go ahead and start it, and then I will make the notes, and we'll see about doing this. And go.
When I started DJing, I remember when like 5 people would be like, yeah, and there was like everyone else just doesn't give a shit. I'm like, those are my 5 people. I focus on them. And after the show, I like hung out with all of them, and one of the guys let us stay in their house because we were sleeping in our van.
Tribe's values, right there. Like straight off the top, that's Tribe's values. That's FE all day long.
The whole time we're making $20 to $40 a show, and it's like, you know, you have to start in that mindset. That's the problem with social media right now, is that you're comparing yourself to people that have like this large success, and you're like, I want to play there.
The problem is comparing yourself.
But you first have to go with what you have in front of you and make that meaningful. And that's why I always say, like, when I'm performing, I'm trying to be as present as I can, and I don't want to think about anyone outside these 4 walls. These people are here for me, and I'm here for them, and that's all that matters.
These people are here for me, and I'm here for them. Tribe's feelings, again, external, FE. I'm not going to just say it now, but I'm pretty sure I got the sexuality on that too. Because we want to just...
Which is committed to funding advancements in brain science. So please, help me in welcoming the author of the new memoir, Blue, The Color of Noise, the legendary musician and entrepreneurial force of nature, the one...
He does a lot of things. He's in comics, he's in music, he's in a lot of entrepreneurial things. So he's very movement. Not a lot of sleep.
And I assure you only, Steve Aoki.
That was the craziest intro I've heard in my life.
It is always fun to write about you and the things you've done. And now, having gotten to know you and been with you as you do some of your traveling, the pace at which you work and move is crazy. It's also super infectious.
I want to use that intro somehow. Again, that was crazy. That was really cool.
Dude, that's it. Your life is literally like this whirlwind of activity.
He's a little bit uncomfortable with the attention on him for this. Like the fact that the intro pointed out what he's good at. It's got him a little bit unsettled. He's leaning forward. He's a little bit apprehensive.
From the different restaurants and things you've got going, from the projects that you're working on, to the music, the touring, and all of that. And you've talked pretty powerfully about, you know, being 40 now and still having the same level of hunger that you've always had. What is it that keeps you going? What is it that drives you forward?
I mean, there's so many different ways to answer that question, because like my life, when I really think about my main drive, it's always music based. And since I live 200 plus days on the road, 250 shows like average, and it's been consistently like that for the past 12 years. I first go into that place, and that
movement and audio.
Questions answered very quickly, because when I play these shows, it's like what we talked about before in our first interview. It's that connection I have with the fans. So,
known facts. What we talked about before. but we'll see.
You know, if I was to like play the opposite, if I was a DJ and I was in the back corner, you know, of the room, and not many people were like cared about what I was doing, and they were just like cocktail bar, and I'm just, you know, playing, I probably would quit and do something else. You know, there's no appreciation there.
If the tribe didn't value what I was doing, I would find something else to do. Another FE tag.
But at the end of the day, I
we're
make
pretty
this music
solid
so
on
I
FE.
can connect with people and then share that feeling with them. And the deeper the feeling is, the deeper it gives me that value, and it creates that passion and drive.
So that's gonna be
And
his FET
at the end of the day, that connection and that ability to share and connect with people is really like why I even got involved in starting a label, being in a band, doing Neon Future with you, and connecting with all these people in the comic book world. It's like, it's all about creating something that has an impact, you know, and being able to, you know,
Gonna have to
obviously you want to
learn to
inspire
work
people,
your
but being able to like participate and see that inspiration happening, and seeing how we are helping other people in some aspect, or, you know, doing some.
helping other people. And by that, he helps himself. That's going to give us a little bit of observer, I think. Uh, it seems to me that he's pretty balanced with his self and tribe. He pleases the tribe, and it makes him feel good.
Something that has meaning and purpose, you know, that's what it really boils down to. My like I've said this many times, but my natural way to express myself is through my music. So that's always been my first approach. But then as I've, you know, my platform's been raised higher and higher, it's allowed me to go, well, now I can get to meet some of these other people that are foreign to me, but I want to learn about.
He wants to learn new things.
About these different worlds, and learn about them, essentially to share the idea.
He wants to learn to share.
Is with other people, because we learn to share, right? We don't. It's like when you pick up a book and you read a book. It's like if you want to retain the information to be able to share it with people.
I learn things in order to share them. So I consume in order to blast.
Right. So once again, it goes back to the whole idea of sharing and that connectivity, and it doesn't matter if I'm 19 or if I'm 41 or if I'm 60. If I still have the ability to share things that I love, that make me feel a certain way, that give me an emotional high, that I want to be able to create more positivity with other people with, then I'm always going to find that drive.
Therefore,
that's really an interesting answer to me. That is super.
So where does that put us? All right, so he is all about the tribe. The tribe's values. Does the tribe value what I'm doing? That is EJ. So if we've got EJ, next we need to figure out is what's the next ones? The functions? Yeah. So it's going to be he values the tribe's value. That's going to be FTI. And then new facts is SE. Known concepts is the not. So yeah, he's using known concepts. So that's FETINISE. Yeah. He's definitely in a savior state. He is taking responsibility for learning new things and bringing it to the tribe in order to enhance the tribe's experience.
resonant in the book. And one thing that I found that I loved in Blue is the way, one, you're really raw, you're super open, vulnerable in the book, which I loved. And I was going to ask you, like, why be so raw and open? You certainly, in any sort of creative endeavor, you're opening yourself up for criticism, you're opening yourself up, you're giving to people the exact way to hurt you by showing where you're insecure or what could strike a chord with you. But the notion of that being about connection, that you get this emotional high out of that, really makes the book make sense. Like, that brings it all into perspective as to why you would do it. There's a real lyrical quality to the book that I found super beautiful. Walk me through the desire to connect versus the need to connect. Like, when I see how hard you work, it's what
We've got him as an EJ. Okay, now we're working on SF, NT, ST, NF. So, is it about the popularity and the value of the physical world? Is it nerdy reasons that are abstract? Is it reporting reasons in the physical? Or is it hippie and the value in the abstract, which it's pretty much shown so far that it's value and it's abstract concept. Music is an abstract concept. He's using the abstract concept for the tribe. I would put him as an ENFJ so far with what we have. We'll do cross checks for the rest of this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say ENFJ. I've already filled out my doc. FESE. I have him play Blast Consume. And we'll cross check that too. And then, yeah, we'll get to the modalities in a little bit.
I refer to myself as the sickness, right? So I've been tremendously successful in my life. I certainly never need to work again, but I work harder now than I've ever worked in my life. And to me, there is and the notion of it being a sickness comes from Batman. So, like, what drives this guy that has everything? You know, this need to solve these problems that he sees connected with the loss in his own family. So, how much of this is a desire to connect, and how much of this is a need to connect?
Well, so when you say it like that, it's like that. I'm definitely thinking I'm talking to a therapist, and I have to really think about this and go back into my past. Like, is it my dad? You know, is it me not fitting in? Because then you really, you know, when you boil it down, a lot of it comes to your upbringing, or like how things have changed or affected you when you were really young. And I mean, there's no doubt, especially, and I talk about this a lot in the book and also in the documentary, this like unconscious feeling that I need to prove to my dad that I'm going to make it, because that's like what I grew up with. I grew up with this.
I need to prove to the tribe that I have value. Again.
Like, I need to make it, because he implanted those subliminal messages towards me, you know, like when I was a kid growing up throughout my life. So that's definitely one of them. Another thing is just growing up in Newport Beach, not being able to fit in and trying to find a voice. So then that way I can share something that's valuable to people, because
trying to find my voice so I can share with the tribe.
I couldn't share something that was valuable to people by doing traditional things. So like, I couldn't play sports because I'm just like a little kid. So I just like sucked at sports. I was scoring on the wrong basketball hoop. I was kicking the soccer ball in my own home team, like soccer ball net. Like, I was just the worst. I mean, I love.
He wants to play. He's just not very good at it in the traditional sense. He wanted to do sports.
Playing sports, trust me. But like, when growing up, I just couldn't contribute and have any value. So.
But he didn't have value to the tribe through sports.
Music was my way to be able to be like, I can contribute, and people will actually listen, even if it's 5 people. So maybe.
But he found his way to play. That was the most important thing in his life, was to find the way to play.
It's
was
that,
valuable to the
you know, that has a lot to do with it. And that's something that's unconscious that I don't think about now, you know. And that spark to when you are trying to contribute and people aren't listening in the traditional way, but you try something else and they listen.
We're definitely going to play
That spark when that happens is such a powerful feeling. And coming from, you know, when I was a kid, I was very, very shy. I had like a lot of energy I wanted to share with the world. I'm always combusting with energy, but I was very, very
combusting with energy. Play forward. At this point, his play was his demon. He was very shy. He didn't feel he had value to contribute to the tribe, so his play was his demon. Now that he has found his value for the tribe through his music, he's play savior.
insecure. You know, I was lost and I didn't know how to be able to express myself. And I thought I was going to be like that for the rest of my life. I thought I literally was just going to be, you know, in the traditional sense of being Japanese, just stay in line and be quiet and like kind of move through life and not be counted, not stick your head up too high. Because if you do, if you live in a community where it's 96% white and you do, you're gonna get smashed. And then you won't have a community that can support you to make you feel like it's okay to stick your head up. Because culturally, my mom is Japanese, so she's like, don't rock the boat. And whenever, like, if I did, it's like, smash, bring you down, you know?
Again, value of the tribe. Like, he is so EHA that it's jumping. Like, there's no doubt. I find him now to be relatively balanced with self and tribe. I don't see anything so far that is control chaos. Like, nothing.
Until I found this other route where music, the subculture community gave me that, the tools to be like, you could say something now, and you can now talk about your frustrations, your, you know, anger, whatever it might be, resentment, whatever it is that you're living with, because the whole subculture, that's what they were talking about. So I finally found that community. So digressing here left and right, but you know, when I really think about the desire, I like it. It just I think it's just now. It's just part of who I am because it's been integral in every single thing I've done, whether it's a company or, you know, whenever I think about business, I don't think about it as like how much money I'm going to make. I think about it like, you know, how we are with Neon Future. You know, I have the Neon Future tattoo. I believe in a neon future. There's no doubt about it. Like I'm signed up to freeze the body as an insurance policy, you know, like deep Kelvin degree temperatures, so my body stops degenerating, for the insurance policy that we don't, you know, that I die, just in case, you know, people find a cure for the disease called aging. So,
do you see it as a positive
death.
force in your life or a negative force, neutral force? Like, how do you think of that sort of overwhelming compulsion to connect, to be great, to, you know, play at such a big level?
He's going to direct.
Yeah, that's another good question, because I guess like when you're too into something, it's like you have to ask that question. Is it like unhealthy or toxic or those kinds of things? Does it drive you too much where it like stops the more important things in your life? And I feel like it's good. You know what I mean? I feel like you know, like it's different because you have to look at it like, if society says it's okay, then it's okay, but that's not necessarily true. Like I do have to answer these questions as I go at 150 miles an hour. Because it feels right, because I have a flow. Because like nothing worse than being out of that flow. When you have things going and you have your passion there and you have your drive there. Because when you get off that flow, it's really hard to get back on. You know, you ask any creative person about writer's block. It doesn't matter if you're a writer, you're a painter, you're a musician, you're, you know, whatever you do. So for me, I care so deeply about what I do and the contribution of the whole, all the work I've been doing and all, you know, the drive, everything that I've been doing, that if I get off that train to relax, it's like I could lose that moment. And it's very possible, as fast as we live in this day and age, how people's attention spans are. Like, I want to push myself on every level, whether it's like having fun jumping off a cliff into the water, or like, you know, like doing this comic with you and like building this out into this incredible world where we can see it into TV and film. Those are like incredible goals that I want to attain, and they're like dreams, you know. But we're getting there. What's crazy is that we're actually, the dreams I had as a kid.
What I'm getting from this particular part right here is that he doesn't really know how to do the things, the comic, the other entrepreneurial things, but he's doing them regardless. So that has me leaning heavily towards Blast as the second animal and Consume third. I see him Sleep as a distant fourth.
They're actually happening, which is it's bizarre and wild.
He's very engaged.
And I think with Blue, I really want to showcase to all the young people, that the shy kids, that the kids that are like, yeah, I will not be successful like that. I will have to like sit in a cubicle and do, you know, the boring stuff, which is actually what my dad told me to do.
Sit in the cubicle is the boring stuff.
It's like, that's real life. You have other ways to look at your scenario, and you know, it's like I'm trying to speak to that demo, to those kids, to those people, to the young people out there like that, even to the older people that are like.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into the modalities. He's relatively simple on the sense. He's a DJ. He's all about the movement. He's all about the audio. I have to go with the masculine on the sense. His decider is a little bit, he moves with the tribe. Or no, he's movable on himself, but he's all about the tribe. So I'm gonna go with masculine for both the decider and the sensor. So that would be double masculine. Yeah. So we've got a double masculine, ENFJ. Play, Blast, Consume, Sleep, Last. Masculine, FENISETI. Play, Blast, Consume, Sleep, Last. I don't know how to change this. If anybody could help me out, leave it in the comments so I could figure out how to do this. I had to specifically ask help from Dave to learn how to do the sheet at all. So, I'm going to watch a little bit more of the interview just to cross-check, but I think we're good. Like, I'm confident with this. I could be wrong. Like, I could be completely off base, but I think that he is an ENFJ. Play, Blast, Consume, double masculine. So let's play a little bit more, and 15 minutes in. Like,
maybe I need to stop my job and like pursue something else, or maybe I need to reevaluate what I want to do with my life.
It's interesting that you say that's not where I thought you were going to go with that. So in the book, you talk a lot about the story that we tell ourselves. And I think that as people get older, they begin to tell themselves a narrative that, quite frankly, is handed to them, A, and B, is usually self-defeating. It isn't one of reinvention. You talk about that in the book. You talk about people who are able to stay relevant by successfully reinventing themselves. You talk about Michael Jackson, you talk about Kanye West, like having this ability to morph and change. I've certainly seen that in you, Jesus, when you look at your own career starting as, the straight edge, religious, hardcore kid, goes into DIY, starts getting into promoting and managing, and then like into being a DJ producer, and then even just the way that you've morphed and changed that over the years is really pretty astonishing. But when I think about,
to me, that is nothing but confirmation so far. Like he consumes relatively last. He didn't take the time to get really good at any of that before he just jumped into it and moved on to the next thing. So that to me would be a gather. He's all about the tribe. He was trying to find his place and his value in the tribe, so he started where he didn't want to be, but he wound up where he wanted to be and bringing value to the tribe aggressively.
all right, we have these narratives that we're going to tell ourselves. They're going to have a tremendous impact on the way that we live our lives. And then the question is going to arise, which is this insane drive that I have, is this the right answer or the wrong answer? And to me, I don't think there is a real answer. There's no
Right. The right answer, wrong answer will be a check on the masculine sensing.
objective answer as to whether or not the way that you're doing it is the right way or the wrong way. It simply is the way that you're doing it. And now it becomes a question of what narrative are you telling yourself about what you're doing? In the book, I wrote the line down because I was so hit by it, and experientially, it isn't what it's like to hang out with you. And you said, I have these stories. You were talking about the shooting in Vegas, and you said somebody woke you up, and what they were saying cut through everything. It even cut through the story that you tell yourself to keep the world out. And I thought that's interesting. The story you tell yourself to keep the world out. What is the narrative that you're telling yourself that allows you to find so much joy in this connection to serve the people that you serve around the globe, to push you this hard and to put off a family? What is that narrative?
Narrative of
That you tell yourself, about why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I'm gonna go back to what you're talking about first. Is I think the narrative that my story is all about is agility and being able to be flexible. And I mean,
The ability to be flexible is his primary concern. So that would be, a little movable on concepts. He hasn't really given me a whole lot of evidence for being solid on the facts. He hasn't expounded upon very many facts. A lot of experience, both for himself and for the tribe, but not a whole lot of facts. I would expect the masculine sensing to be movable on concepts, and that seems to play out here.
it's like the 5-year, 10-year plan that most CEOs ask, like that's a question most people want to know about a CEO or someone that's successful. Or what is your 5-year, 10-year plan? That's what you want to ask a young startup, right? To invest into their company or something. My plan has always been kind of unhinged. It's just like I go where my passion leads me, and I feel free to do that, And
I go where my passion leads me, and I feel free. Which seems to suggest that he might be kind of movable on self. If he was firmly set that this is me, then he wouldn't be able to follow his passions in quite the same way.
How did you create that space though? Because growing up in a Japanese culture, that certainly isn't encouraged. And if your own dad, who was a huge risk taker, is telling you, no, get a real job, how did you break out of that mold?
Yeah, it's that's a really crazy thing, because I looked at my dad as like this flamboyant, he was like, he once he stepped foot in America, he became an American. You know, he like almost pushed away his Japanese values and was like, I need to show what I can do. I want to show everyone. He was a showman. But then when he was a father, he's like, don't be me. Don't be a showman. Like,
Did he ever say why?
Because he wanted stability for his kids. He wanted to make sure that we weren't, because if you, to be the showman is such a small percentage of success.
Very masculine.
Everyone wants to be a showman.
Do they?
I mean, that's from my father's perspective,
Everybody
because
wants to be.
I had this, well, I mean, I'm my father's son. So I'm like, yeah, I'll be cool to drive really expensive cars and like do whatever, you know, like that's what you see, right? And I'm living in a humble, you know, house with my mom, you know, that's not that, you know? So I'm like, it's aspirational. So I think for him, I think as a father, he's just like, don't be me. You need to figure out your life in the most reasonable, pragmatic way, which is what everyone has to do. You have to go through these steps. And it's boring, but you're just gonna do it. Like, that's why he didn't support me in like my endeavors in music, because he doesn't see it as like a financial trajectory for him. I remember when I invested in my first restaurant, when I finally made a little bit of money, he was like, why? You're gonna lose all your money. And I did on the first one, you know, I did. I mean, it was only 30 grand. It was like my first investment. It's a Korean barbecue in LA. Great one, though. It was really good, but you know, he was correct.
Have you ever put yourself into your dad's shoes and thought, what would I say? Like, for instance, if you have a kid and they decide they want to get into music, what would your advice be to them?
I think I wouldn't go as deep as my dad, but I really value his tough love. And I don't think it was discipline for him to not give me like financial support. I just didn't want to. It wasn't like you know, like when you love someone, you want to help them out. Like when you see them struggling, you're like, I want to pick you up, like, you know. But it's better off you just let them figure it out on your own, even when they're like crying on their way up. You know, that's one thing I learned from him is like he wasn't around, right? So he didn't have to see me like struggling and trying to like get by. I'm not gonna, and I wasn't the kind of kid to like cry to my dad, be like, I'm not fitting in, like I can't make friends, like I got made fun of for this, or like just the daily toils of being a kid. And we didn't have that kind of relationship. So he didn't get to see that, and I had to like talk to my mom about it, and she's just like, just don't make any trouble, you know? And then, you know, I had to figure that out on my own.
In the book, one of the most interesting things that you talked about was family, and asking yourself aloud in the book if, you know, am I making the right choice, pursuing the career, putting off my family? I thought I would have a family by now. My dad had 6 kids by the time he was my age, you know, and I always thought that I would have some at least by now, and I haven't. And what do you think about that? Like, where is, and this is a question that I have thought about, just hundreds of hours spent thinking about, you know, what's the right move for me? Will I regret it? Is it right now, but maybe wrong later? Is it wrong now and wrong later?
Yeah.
Is it right forever? You know what I mean? Like really processing through that. How do you think about it now? If you were the startup, what's your 5 to 10 year family plan?
There is no plan. There's no like,
there is no
it
plan.
must be like this. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be,
no plan.
I'm not say definitely. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen in the next 5 years. Also, like I owe a lot to my mom too. My mom's like, every time she sees a baby, she's like, oh, she's like looking at me and like I just have a kid for my mom. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I love my mom so much. It's like, I feel like, you know, and of course you can't have a kid for you have to like, you know, it's just like you said, you have to take care of the situation. You can't do it for other people or anything else, you know.
Before you have
No question. Yeah, it's, man, family, the way that people play that part of their life is really, really telling in terms of what their priorities are and what matters to them and what they get the biggest chemical rush out of and all that stuff. But I think the most interesting thing that you represent is you've become so extraordinary because you had these balancing forces of a very nurturing mother, and then the father who was a sort of rock star type, aspirational figure, to use your words, but not necessarily a day-to-day dad. And then so you had to figure things out on your own, which I find really, really interesting. Talking about figuring things out and reinventing yourself, how do you approach that musically? I've watched you go from genre to genre to genre, always just far enough ahead to really fucking nail things. What is your process for keeping your ear to the ground? Like, how do you do that? How do you stay fresh all the time?
Well, that's day to day. You know, like that's ultimately the same going back to the past. That's the same drive that I've had like since I was starting the label, since I was being in a band. I mean, it's
No, that's the same thing.
it's digging for records as a
That's
DJ,
been
digging
on
for
fast.
records for the new, you know, back in the day when you actually would buy physical vinyl and stuff like
But
that.
give me the actual process. Are you sitting down in your studio at home and you go on Spotify and you start
Have to
listening to
talk about
fucking
the
everything? Are you going
process
to
and the
clubs?
facts.
Are you asking around? Like, how do
I want new
you?
facts.
It's a bit of everything. Spotify is like watching the stock market. When things go up, you're a bit late already. So you know, hitting up an artist that's already blown up they're already blown up. But because I have a platform, I can talk to a bigger artist. I like to go as early as I possibly can, if possible. Just like with any business, you want to, you know, like work with the people that are the innovators that are like pushing.
Do people just send you a shit ton of music now? Is that how you find people?
No, it's a lot of it's like friends, networks of like I trust friends and advice from friends. That's probably been my go-to for signing the right artists on Denmark to like working and collabing with different artists. And plus I get to travel the world. That helps me a lot. And
Have
I'm
new
also
experiences.
putting myself out there. So when I go to a country, you know,
Sacrificing for
I'm
tribe.
like putting out the feelers. Like, can you tell like the artists in this country I'm in, Brazil, whatever I am, I want to hear like who's shaking up the noise. And the thing is that sometimes the biggest artist in that country is like unknown in my country, which happens a lot because they're singing entirely in Portuguese or Italian or whatnot. And that's what I did actually just recently. I was in Italy, and my day-to-day, Dougie, who's in this room right now,
Dougie.
he's also one of the guys that's like, yo, you should check this out. You should check this out. So Dougie's like, yo, you know, Sfera Basta, he's this Italian artist. You should check him out. So I checked him out. I was like, oh, this is dope. He's singing entirely in, rapping entirely in Italian. And I went to his Instagram, my way to communicate with artists, Instagram and Twitter. And I was gonna DM him. He already DM'd me. So I was like, oh, this is match made in heaven. So like I like accepted because you know it's in the direct friend request, whatever. And
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm pretty solid on this. I think he's an ENFJ, double masculine, and play less, consume, sleep less. This has been Pitt's Take. Thank you.